want to thank everybody for joining us at Maysles Documentary Center's River City Drumbeat discussion. My name's Allason Leitz, and I'm the cinema manager and a programmer here at Maysles. Normally, we screen documentaries all year round and have education programs for youth in the South Bronx and Harlem. Obviously, right now we're virtual, so our education cinemas and our cinema as well, as you've probably seen if you're here, have been able to continue virtually, which we're incredibly grateful for. We've got a lot of virtual screenings planned and coming up. Currently, we have a series called After Civilization, which is running for free until August 15th, as well as a couple different first run films running online. And we recently began a series called Sidewalk Cinema at our location on Lenox Avenue. This film will be screening there on probably Friday or Saturday, depending on weather, most likely Saturday. But we hope that you'll join us in whichever way you feel most comfortable. So we've got some exciting programming coming up, some great docs coming our way this fall. More information about those films is always on our website at maysles.org. And while you're there, if you want to sign up for our mailing list, we will be more than grateful. We can't wait to have you back in the cinema, but as always, we will be here. So with me today are the directors of River City Drumbeat, as well as the star of the film, Albert Shumake, and a New York City activist, Jordan Carter. Anne Flatté is an award-winning filmmaker whose work highlights stories about music and community. She's the director and producer of Symphony for Nature, as well as the web series Music Makes a City Now, and producer of Serenade for Haiti, which premiered at Doc NYC. Marlon Johnson he's the co-director with Anne Flatté. He's a Emmy award-winning producer and director of Singular, Symphony in D, and Deep City, Birth of Miami Sound, and most recently, River City Drumbeat. Albert Shumake is the director of River City Drum Corps and is also a well-known DJ in the Louisville area, where he entertains crowds under the name DJ Always. Jordan Carter's personal mission is to utilize the transformative power of arts and culture to fight for the collective liberation of all oppressed people. He's a classically trained percussionist, and he recently completed a master's degree from Columbia University. He's a performer, facilitator, community activist, and arts administrator in New York City. So first of all, I want to thank you all for joining us today. What a pleasure to have each and one of you, every one of you with us. We're so honored to be hosting this discussion. Yeah, thank you. I want to begin by saying that I was so struck by the rhythm, by the rhythm in the film and sort of its increasing complexity throughout the film. In the very beginning, you ask the kids to put their hand on their chest and to feel the rhythm like that they have in their own body. And then by the end of the film, it seems they found a way to sort of externalize that beat with so many more nuances throughout it. And it seemed to me like the drum corps is this like safe space, really. I mean, as much as that's like sort of an overused and like annoying term at this point, like it is also a reality for many people as like an important space. But I was really struck, I think, by the like putting those two things side to side in the film, and that it felt like a really profound statement to make watching those like two narratives play out throughout. And it's something that like felt so transformative for us to engage with, or like for the students themselves to like engage with something externally that was like ultimately already like inside of them. Yes. But like finding that as like a way, like it's already like their guide is like already inside of them, I think was sort of the like thing that I took away at the end. And you're like finding tools through the drum corps to help them find it and to understand it. Would you say that that's,
yes,
does that feel representative to you?
That's a very good analysis for you to pick those things up. When we work with young people, we want, when I've learned that to get down on their level so that so a kid can understand and, you know, see you eye to eye or feel your energy, kind of feel you out. So I want all the kids to understand that there's no difference between me and them and everyone else in the room when we start an assembly like that. You know, regardless of our skin color, our socioeconomic level, whatever it is that makes us different, we all have this heartbeat. And, you know, as much as society wants to separate us, that's something that brings us together. And for me, being in the drum corps was exactly that, a safe haven, a place for me to gain some access to all of these things that were not in my neighborhood. So the drum corps broadened my horizons and you know, helped to, you know, give me some extra tools in my tool belt, so to say, just the way you put it. So that's what we do for these young people. That was Mr. White's motto. That was his mission, and it created me and so many other children. So I wanted to make sure that we keep those traditions alive and give kids a place where they can discover themselves and flourish.
Jordan, would you say in your experience that I know that you were like part of a percussion group as a young person as well. Was that something that you would relate to as well? I think you might be muted.
Oh, am I now? It's
You're
good.
good.
Well, it was really, really impactful to know about everything going on with River City Drum Corps, and it rings true when I was in as a high schooler, which was I graduated high school in 2013, and I was the percussion section leader for 2 years, and it was so interesting. It's really interesting to see how it still rings true that the band and music, percussion itself can act as an umbrella of protection for so many kids, because it's a thin line between skipping school and smoking weed to kicking in somebody's door and doing, and you know, and like being a part of the band and being a part of the drum line and everything. I have been able to see and witness how it can really, really save some people that are really on the thin line, on the slippery slope, is dealing with all the things that Black youth have to go through. So it's really, really impactful and honestly promising to see that the River City Drum Corps is carrying out this work and being able to add as a diversion as well as a source of liberation for these kids, honestly.
Anne and Marlon, I know at the beginning of the film you put a quote. It's a proverb. It says, "We desire to bequeath two things to our children. The first one is roots, and the other is wings." Yes. I love that proverb, but I'm wondering if you can tell us where you found it and how it landed in this film.
Yeah, it's actually a African Sudanese proverb, and I had this, me personally, as part of the team, I'd had this kind of awakening as we filmed and as we started to edit, where there were all of these sound bites in the film, whether it was Mr. White or Albert. We want the same things that everyone else wants in our community, or no one ever told me I was going to be anything until Zambia showed me that I could. And I just wanted something to open the film to kind of set the tone for what the viewer was about to experience. And I think having roots and having wings is what we all desire to pass on to the next generation. And that quote just so beautifully encapsulated it.
Absolutely. I think it really sort of profoundly like shapes the beginning of the film and like really gives you a sense of like what the space is meant to be. Jordan, in your well, I guess I would love to like find out maybe more of how Anne and Marlon, like how did you come together for this project, and like how did it become a how did we wind up with this wonderful project?
Well, both Marlon and I, as you know, have worked on music documentaries, and not just about music, but about community in different projects. Like we met working on a short about music in Miami, and we enjoyed the experience so much. We were excited to work together again. And in the meantime, our producer, Owsley Brown, who is from Louisville and who I've worked with for many, many years on other films about music in Louisville, knows Mr. White for years and always wanted to do a film about drum corps, and invited me and Marlon to meet Mr. White, and kind of, you know, we each, I think, were really, I mean, Mr. White made such a big impression, but more than that, when I first met him, I came to a family night, you know, speaking of the roots and wings, like, it was so clear that this was a community, you know, that was built on music, but also on love and mentorship and all of these things that as a parent, I struggle with in my own life, frankly, with raising children here. And to see this community that was, you know, actively working so hard to do the best for the kids, you know. And when you meet Mr. White in the film, you just see what a powerful personality he is. And it just makes such an impression on me. And then Marlon can talk about the first time he met Mr. White and Albert. But basically we started, you know, filming in 2016. And so that was 4 years ago, and it's been a long journey, and I can't think of anybody else who I'd rather be on this journey with than Albert and Mr. White and Marlon and the whole drum corps.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment, Anne. And I would say when I came into the picture, it was still kind of unknown whether or not we were going to do a feature, or what exactly was going to be the direction we were going in. And we were both fortunate as storytellers, as filmmakers, to be allowed enough space to explore. So I came in not really looking to shoot all that much. Me, Albert, Mr. White actually met in a hotel lobby, and we just started talking. I don't know if you remember that, Albert, and didn't know each other from Bob, and immediately had a connection. We had a connection as African-American men navigating ourselves through this world. We had a connection as leaders and fathers, and we had a connection, which I think is most important, also as artists. And those three things came together, and I think it was quickly apparent that it was a project that the three of us could get around. Having so many connective tissues was really refreshing.
And something you mentioned was that you had both had a prior history, so to speak, of working on projects that had to do with music and community. And I wonder if there's sort of a through line between these projects that you've worked on in your career, that like a greater thing that you're trying to say with the different films that you've worked on. For Marlon, you as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to me, you know, for me, films are all about connecting with other people. Like, I'm interested in connecting with other people, and music is just one of the most amazing ways that people can be together in a spiritual way, almost, you know what I mean? And it's so much better than talking sometimes, you know. It's like people, you know, talking is limiting, you know. It's great, words are fantastic, but music speaks to like another part of us, I think. And so and also I should mention, like, I don't know how to play drums, but I do play piano, which is technically percussion, and so it's just close to my heart, like working on musical language and all of that. So the other through line that I would say is that I definitely believe that each person is like a universe into like the whole universe is in each person. And so like trying to work on projects that actually express that is important to me, as opposed to like other content, I guess. So there is that motivation.
Yeah, and to Ed's point, I've been thinking about this a lot because we've been getting asked this question a lot. And, you know, I was always, you know, I'm a product of performing arts school, and I was always curious about the world. And music was one of those tools to help satisfy that curiosity. We talk about this transformation that music can have on someone. And that was really important, and that's part of the through line for me. I make films about jazz, I make films about soul music, I make films about the drumline, I make films about you know, the dance hall. And so what music has allowed me to do specifically early on is be and transform to places that and people I don't know. You know, whether it's Kingston, Jamaica, whether it's the South Bronx, whether it's Atlanta, Memphis, Liverpool, Tokyo. Music allows me to immerse myself in these spaces, and that has been a through line in the work that I've done.
So Jordan, your background is as a percussionist, and you now work in New York City as an educator, but were born and raised in Atlanta. I'm wondering if there were any similarities or differences between your sort of various experiences in back home and in New York City, and watching the film also of just like things like differences of experiences and just like in general with the film.
Well,
I think you might still be muted. Sorry.
I think I have to get closer to it.
There we go.
As we were speaking earlier, you know, I definitely see myself in so many of the folks involved that are playing in the River City Drum Corp. Honestly, you know, it's interesting that you say that, because there were many moments when I got a little emotional watching the film, honestly, and especially when you were especially in the part where you were speaking about all the folks that you've seen pass and in the neighborhood and stuff like that, and it really resonates with me. It hit home in a way that I really wasn't even trying to be on in the moment, honestly, but it did. And it's like, you know, a lot of folks just by being no matter just by being from an area where it's like, you know, lower income, predominantly Black people, no matter how well you're doing, whether you get involved in the extracurriculars, in the band, in the drum line or anything like that, you build connections with people that are, like Mr. White said in the video, you can't save every child. And a lot of your close friends are gonna be some of those children that can't be saved. And it just really hit home in another way to see all of that, because I'm watching them go across the graduation stage and stuff like that, and then cut to your scene right there when you're explaining that. It really made me think about the times when I came up and Allason and I went to Columbia together, but there would be times where I'd leave class and scroll on Instagram and there would be someone gone. And there was like, and no matter how close your proximity to whiteness, to education, to money, that doesn't erase the bonds that you made with the people that are in the situation that you grew up in. So it was really, and I'm glad you asked the question the way you did, so it could parse everything that I was going, that really, thank you for asking such a great question, Allison. But like, it really encapsulates everything that was that really was going on during my time in school, and even now, honestly. We just graduated from Columbia in 2019, last year.
Oh, wow.
Last year. Seriously. So it's like these things are still reigning true, and I almost want to take it to another level with everything, into more of a, I started saying initially on this call, or on this webinar, that it still rings true how impactful percussion is as a diversion type of program. And I'm thinking, that was one of the main things I put on my application to get to school, that I wanted to do something like this. And now, I'm thinking 10 years later, I'm wondering, I, I don't want there to be somebody that we can't get.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, I don't, and that's what I'm grappling with right now, bringing it on home into like what it is what experience I need to do before I make my set root back home in Atlanta and do what I know it is I'm called to do.
Yeah, I think when you talk about shared experiences that we have, being from similar places, I'm the, I guess, one of the principal characters in this film, but my story is so similar to, so many other kids, like you say. I passed by places that I played with people, and I passed by places where they got murdered, as an adult now. And we want to do whatever we can to, diminish that for these students that we're working with now. And that's the work that goes into it. And for you to get inspired by the film, I think really does justice to the work that to our story, and to Marlon and Anne for putting it together like that. Because the more people that get that fire lit like you have right now, that's going to be more kids that we can save. And we can really change the world, change society, because that is something that we have control over.
And I got goosebumps on my arm right now, man. That's beautiful, honestly. The revolution is right now, and I appreciate just being in this vicinity online. I feel it. I feel it. We might as well be in person. How much I feel it, honestly.
Well, artists are revolutionaries. We not everybody is going to be out on the in the streets with their signs or occupying places. Since the beginning of time, even in civil rights, artists played a huge part in funding the civil rights movement, and calming the crowds and changing the environment. So we got to prepare soldiers for this journey on all aspects. And just being able to think and create is a revolutionary act right now in the world. So the more we can give our kids that independence of thought and desire to make things, then the world can continue to get better.
Yeah, see, this is beautiful, because as a storyteller, as storytellers, so often, like we talk about, the narrative in these communities are very narrow. And I'm just so happy that both Anne and I were able to tell stories about the beautiful things that are going on, the beautiful people that are doing the work in the communities. It is possible to change a person's impression of people that don't look like them, of neighborhoods that are not like those. And this making of the film is an act to move that forward. What you guys are doing, we need more of that.
Man.
And like,
keep the goosebumps going. Keep the goosebumps going.
Yeah. Like a couple of things, I just want to say a couple of things come to mind. One is that, this is work, the hard work that the River City Drum Corps has been doing for 30 years. Like, this is the work. This is the work. The film is allowed and entrusted to be the vehicle by which this comes through in the way that we try and be there witnessing what's happening. And you know, we felt like this was as much like a collaboration with Mr. White and Albert and the people in the Corps as much as it was between me and Marlon. You know, just that's really important. Another thing I would say is, like, you know, Albert, having him, you know, following Albert as he returns to Louisville, you know, to start this new chapter in his life, you know, that was significant. A lot of people in the film talked about, like, kind of the desire to leave and then the desire to stay, you know, in West Louisville. So, you know, maybe you want to talk about that a little bit, because it's such an important thing. And then, like, lastly, I'll just say the overall context of, like, the legacies in play in Louisville, you know, the historical legacies in play are something that we didn't want to shy away from, but we didn't want to only focus. It was like, you know, that balance between what the people were telling us they wanted to see their lives expressed on screen in a way that was fuller than it usually is, you know, and it's said many times in the film, fuller than what is expressed on the news, for instance, which is not anywhere near the full story of what's actually happening in people's actual lives, you know. So that's all. Just that's what came to mind as you were talking a little bit.
You know, when you say that, Anne, when I get to look at the film and think about, you know, those years of, like, just coming back to Louisville and re-experiencing what the city had become, I think I've always felt like a magneticism to want to come back and do what was done for me, because if had it not been for Mr. White or Zambia or my Sunday school teacher or my high school choir director or my aunts and my uncles or, you know, the arts and crafts director at the Boys and Girls Club, like, all of these people imparted things into me to help me develop who I am. And if they would have left the neighborhood because they had achieved success, I would have been devoid of so many things. And everybody does not get the opportunity to travel the world or travel the country or even see outside of their neighborhood or their city. So when you get to have these experiences and you meet people from other places, your approach to life changes, and you want to go back and expose other people to that. When Jordan goes back to Atlanta, he takes back this New York state of mind that is different from the lifestyle that is in Atlanta, and he can show the kids that it's something outside of Greenbrier Mall, Lenox Mall, you know, Peachtree Road or whatever, you know. And
Underground, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then for me, being able to, like, develop relationships, you know, my fraternity or, you know, all the mentors in my life, we have opportunities to, like, create partnerships and really link up to, like, create villages or these small pockets of people that can really make impact, because a lot of people feel powerless right now in the world because, you know, all they can do is tweet or throw up a post on Instagram, you know. But collectively we can make more of a change, and I think that me coming back to Louisville can inspire somebody else to want to invest in Louisville, and or because someone inspired me. And, you know, Mr. White is a part of a lineage of artists that goes far beyond Ed Hamilton. Ed Hamilton is part of a lineage of artists that go far beyond him. And so we have to make sure that we connect the dots so that these young people know where they come from, know what can happen if they follow their passions, if they, you know, stay on the right path, if they make the right choices, if they, you know, create opportunities for themselves. They have examples in myself, but they got 3 or 4 other generations of people who have been able to do it too. And I just need to, like, open the curtain and show them.
Yeah, and Albert, to your point that about connecting the dots, that's part of the challenge is not feeling like you exist in a vacuum, you know, as a creator, knowing that, like they say in the film, oh, go here. I know the person that created this sculpture. You can go in and just talk to him. And then you have that one-on-one connection. Or me showing up to set and saying, okay, Marlon's one of the directors. You can go talk to him about something if you want to learn how to edit, if you want to learn, you know, how to shoot. There are these people in these spaces of creativity and of influence that we need to make sure that they are aware of. And I think you saying connecting those dots is part of that strategy.
Yeah.
I guess I have a philosophical question. I'm wondering if you guys, if you think that the drums are the justice or if they're a vehicle towards justice.
For me, I think the drum is a vehicle towards justice. It creates the path. It creates the attention or the you know, the activity towards that. I think when you can express yourself in an instrument artistically, that creates vision that you can create and achieve in other places. So, you know, we get kids who come in who've been told that they can't stand still, can't play music, don't know how to follow instructions, you know, get demerits on their report card, to giving them attention, showing them, modeling for them, you know, adapting the way that they are taught so that they can understand things better. And we shift the paradigm, and that in itself is justice, because the drum gives the kids an opportunity to change the narrative and show that they are something different than what everybody else would already have them be.
I mean, I think that, I know there's lots to say about this, but I just want to say, like, again, the context in which people find themselves, you know, the system exists that we're talking about, and the sadness that Jordan's talking about and that Albert's talking about, when you consider the whole situation, the unjust situation, you know, that is so, you know, ever present, and then, you know, finding the way through this situation. That doesn't mean that the situation shouldn't change in the general situation, just to be really clear, you know.
Yeah.
Jordan, I see you thinking about it. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking really, really deeply about that. That's very abstract. And I think, you know, I agree that it is the pathway to justice, but I'm gonna also kind of give a philosophical, spiritual answer, that I also don't think that we'll ever, as humans, ever know what justice is, because, you know, justice, at the root of that, is just, whether things are just or unjust, and that judging stuff is not us. That's God, you feel me? So on the pathway, so yes, I feel like it is the pathway to justice, because the drums are our pathway to getting closer to God.
Jordan went deep there. Jordan went deep.
I guess I know we just have a few more minutes, so I'm wondering how you each would like to see your respective work change in the next 10, 20, 50 years, however long you want to imagine for. I think Anne and Marlon, in regards to maybe the stories that you feel compelled or need to tell, and Albert and Jordan in terms of the work that you're doing every day.
Okay, I'll go first. I haven't thought about this at all, but
yeah.
You know, so I'll give you all time to think while
you stumble around.
I won't hold you to it.
No.
It is. Okay, so one of the greatest things about this project and working with Marlon and the drum corps was the sense of freedom and creative freedom that we had together. The collaboration was intense and great. And that's something that was almost like revelatory, you know, like the film is as it is because of that relationship, because of the relationships that we had, you know. So I'm definitely interested in more creative collaborations like that, and changing the kind of some of the conventions of documentary that are really, I mean, if you really look at documentary, it's very big and wide, and lots of people are doing all sorts of amazing things. And yet, like, finding the audience for a lot of these films that are maybe outside the conventional form, you know, of like a sort of news form or something, is something I'm definitely interested in. And I love the work that like independent cinemas are doing. I'm very excited about this independent cinema run because it's like a way of finding people who like movies like this, you know, and like we need to find each other, like, you know, in the world. And so that feels like a community too. So I'm interested in all of that as an artist. There, I gave you 5 minutes. I gave you 10.
More like 90 seconds, but no one's counting. In the next 10 years, wow, it's a good question, but man, I don't know if it could be summed up like in 90 seconds, but I just will say that, first of all, I am on this trajectory, hopefully, to only, as an artist, do what I want to do. Hopefully I have that luxury. I'm moving more in that direction, and that's very satisfying for me. I want to work with only the people I want to work with. It can be ever expanding, and Anne and Albert and this whole new family is part of that expansion. But I think that as an artist, try and discover some universal truths about the world, I want to have beautiful collaborators to go on that journey. And so hopefully that family will expand. Those stories and experiences will expand. And I just want to push myself artistically. And I'm hopefully working in that direction. So we'll check back in 10 years.
Deal.
For me, if I think about what the last 10 years of my life has been like as far as my artistic growth and development, all the things that I learned as a kid, I've been able to turn into things that I actually practice now. So whether it be sewing, making visual art, crocheting, DJing, performing, all of these things have grown over the last 10 years. With the film, it has shown me through, you know, allowing me to go to different museums and meet different people across the country, that my art is just as official and just as valid as the artists who are displayed on the walls of these institutions. And that, I mean, just being home for the COVID period has allowed me to create and put some time into my own work outside of trying to create a new normal for my students. But it's shown me that the creative process is something that I can really indulge in, and for the next 10 years, I only expect to have more experiences, learn more things, and get better. You know, just continue to listen to the omens and follow my personal legend.
In
Jordan.
in 10 years, when you first said that, I was thinking, you know, I hate to be morbid, but I just want to be here. I wanna be 10 years. I want to be 35. I want to do it. And I also am thinking in 10 years, I would want for more people to, I don't I would just want for more people to not take aim at people and more so at the system that has us moving within a consciousness that is violent to one another. And if we can inch closer to waking people up to that consciousness, to know that the enemy is not of the flesh, is not your neighbor, is not somebody that is another skin tone than you, even though they may be the main ones perpetrating the whole stuff, but that's another story, keeping my chill. But understanding that it is forgive them for they know not what they do, you feel me? And it's a bigger thing. It's a bigger system that is at play, a multi-headed, multi-tentacle monster that we are all at war with. And if more people can do that and help, if I can help more people understand that and use and do them for others in resistance to that, then it'll be 10 years will look real good. Yeah.
I guess I know Marlon, you have to get going. So if anybody has any,
a little bit of time, we're good. We're good. I have another 10 minutes or so, but
okay.
If you want to.
I just the last question is how folks can follow you and where they can find you, and if you want to plug whatever it is you want to plug, feel free.
And you go ahead, plug us, I guess.
Please watch River City Drumbeat at Maysles Cinema, and you can also find it at many other cinemas. And learn how to do virtual cinema and tell other people how to do it, because it's like the future for independent film right now is this. And it's like buying a film from your independent bookstore versus Amazon is the best way to describe it. Like, if you want these theaters to be around at the end of COVID, please take the energy to do to learn how to watch the films this way. That's one thing.
And it also helps support the artists too, which is also.
Yes, and helps support the independent artists as well. And then also, we are on rivercitydrumbeatmovie.com, and all of our social is there at Facebook, and try and keep track of our project. Tell us what you think, all of that. Tell your friends.
You can find the River City Drum Corps at www.rivercitydrumcorpky.com. You can just Google it. It'll take you there. We're the top search for that. We're on Facebook at Louisville River City Drum Corps. Personally, you can find my page, Love DJ Always, on Instagram, and I will be promoting everything that I got going on in my life from there. So you'll see information about the film, what my students are doing, what my daughter is doing, what my homies are doing, as we try to push that Black men work together and do positive things, and try to see if we can have that catch fire just as negative nonsense catches fire. So that's our goal. That's where I'll be. Love DJ Always on Instagram. And I recommend anybody that feels the way Jordan feels about the world changing to find a copy of Cast by Isabel Wilkerson. I just finished it. It blew my mind, and I think that you should read it. And I'll put it in the comments just for that. And that's my TED Talk. Thank you.
And then we will check back in 10 years.
Man.
Perfect. I'll see you all here in 10 years, August 12th. Jordan, what about you?
Well, you can find my, I'm a rapper, and I recently started a band, and we're releasing our first single next month. But you can follow me on Spotify. Just type in Jordan Carter, and all the other streaming platforms, just type in Jordan Carter. And I'm on Instagram at WhatJordanRaps. And you can, I am also a facilitator of some artist healing workshops every week. And it's through an organization, more so a movement called Radical Love Consciousness. And I can put some more information about that in the chat. And Radical Love, just a little tidbit about it. It's a verb, an ethic, and a revolutionary mindset, a consciousness that demands the liberation of all people, and it is guided under the principles of re-indigenization, which is going back to the ways of our ancestors and honoring the land as our ancestors once did, and as well as queerness, which is an uninhibited love for all people. So I'll gonna share that as well, like the cast book, and feel free to check it out.
So Jordan, are you nice though? You said you rap. Are you nice?
I'm the best rapper alive.
If you had to compare yourself to one person, to who would that be? I'm trying to think because I'm curious to hear you. I really am. I
Just gotta go listen, Marlon.
I'm just curious. That's always.
I would say I really can't even do myself like that because it's really nobody that's doing this. Like,
Okay.
Man.
Okay, good answer. You didn't fall into that trap. Good answer.
Okay, that's right. Marlon, your turn.
Well, for what? I thought I answered the question.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah. I just didn't give any Instagram M Johnson MIA on Instagram. Okay.
Right.
We're not as cool as the two gentlemen here. As far
We're
as
older, that's why. We're older.
We're more in the analog world.
All right, I want to.
We want to thank Maysles too, and I particularly want to thank Allason for being a very early believer in this film.
Yes.
And you know, it does take a lot of people believing in you to make a film, and we had so much help along the way, and that is such an important thing. Like, it's the whole film. Part of the film is about mentorship, but in the film world, you need a lot of people to make it happen, and all along the way, including getting it out to people. So thank you, Allason, and thank you, Maysles.
Yeah, Allason, I hope you get this analogy. You were one of our Dame Dashes to our Kanye, if you understand that analogy. Y'all get it. Thank you.
I appreciate that, you guys, and thank you so much. I truly would be not in this chair and not in this conversation if it weren't for mentorship and the incredible mentors that got me here. So this film was really meaningful to me as well.
Right.
All right, take care, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.